Good morning and welcome to Holly Tree Manor. We're back out in the garden this morning, not to work, but just to kind of sit here and reflect back on what worked this year, what didn't work this year, where I might want to go with the garden next year. I'm calling this video Things I Finally Figured Out About Myself and Gardening. That's a pretty long title and it's not going to fit on the screen, but anyway, that's what I'm calling it. If you watched the last video, it was all about the garden cleanup. I got rid of this bunch of grow bags. I took over and dumped in my soil cart so I can refresh it next year with fertilizer and all sorts of amendments. Put it back in the bags and then plant stuff. Now I had too many bags for the dirt to fit in the soil cart. So some of them are sitting in the greenhouse, which is here to my right, and they'll be okay. Come next year, I can start on some of the empty bags and then empty them, mix in amendments and refill them, and then I'll just be good to go. So that's the number one plan on that for next year. So what have I figured out? I have figured out that my garden does not need to be perfect. I don't need a fancy space. The space that I have is anything but fancy. I have all these deer barriers up because where I live, we have a white-tailed deer problem, big one. And if I didn't put these little barriers up, they would come in and they would just eat everything to the ground. They've proven that time after time. Last fall, one of them came in and ate the strawberry patch down to the ground. And I figured that was it for strawberries. I was done. But yet I covered the bed up with leaves for the winter. And this past spring, when I raked them off, lo and behold, I had strawberry shoots everywhere. So that's just something I guess I have to put up with. But if I can keep them out of here, that's even better. So I don't really need perfection, but what I do want is a space where I can come out and I can sit. This is my little spot to sit here in the corner. Have a little chair, have a little table here in front of me. I like to come out here in the summertime, especially early in the morning, before the sun hits right here. It's very quiet, it's very peaceful. I like to look around and see all the little growing sprouts. It feeds my soul, and I think that's important. You have to have a space where you can find peace and that feeds your soul. The other thing I know about my garden is I don't want anything that's very high maintenance. Life is too short. I've got too many other things that I like to do. Since my husband died, I've connected with a lot of friends that I hadn't seen since high school. I'm more in touch with my cousins than I had been, and I think that's all good. That's a positive thing to come out of his loss. When Ronnie was living, he and I were a very tight unit. We did pretty much everything together. He was my best friend. So a lot of the other relationships, while I maintained them, I didn't particularly nourish them the way I should. Well, now I'm nourishing them, and I like that. So I want to have time for these other relationships. I don't want to spend 6 hours a day working in a garden. I want it to be very low maintenance. I want to come out here, I want to see what's going on, weed a little bit, water a little bit, fertilize a little bit, and then I want to move on with my day. So that's the other thing about my garden. So along with being lower maintenance, another thing that I know for a fact is more than getting a whole lot of produce to can or freeze to eat. I just like having growing things. If I get some produce for my table, hey, that's wonderful. That's a good thing. I get a little bit to can, that's a good thing. Like this past year, I planted Cherokee yellow wax beans, and I got enough to um, can, I think it was 8 pints. Well, for me, single, 8 pints of wax beans, that's plenty. That would, if I decide to make vegetable soup, open up a can, open up a jar of the wax beans and throw them in the soup mix. That works. I've taken to making like homemade TV dinners. You can buy little plastic trays that have the different compartments in. Open up a jar of the wax beans, divide them out into 3 or 4 of the dinner trays. Wonderful. You know, you put in your veggies, put in your protein, put the lid on, throw it in the freezer. You've got dinners for, you know, every other day or every other 2 days for a couple of weeks. If you're living single, that really works. You don't have to think about Another thing I know, other than I need my garden to be low maintenance, is that I'm not particularly bothered about the amount of produce that my garden gives me. It's always nice to have something for on the table. If I get something else to freeze or can, that's okay. But it's more about just having the growing things around me. I just enjoy growing the garden. Of course, I will make use of whatever produce I get. Um, I will use it. If I get enough, I will share it out with my cousin who lives down the road from me. Another thing is, I know that I'm not as young as I used to be. I don't like bending over, and I certainly don't like crawling around on the ground. I've been thinking about getting a couple of elevated beds. They're about 30 inches high, and I could make them even a little bit higher if I needed to by putting them up on some concrete blocks. But I'm just thinking, you know, gardening as we get older, we have to make some concessions, and I'm thinking elevated beds just might be the way to go. Right now, I can see where I could have 2 of them along the greenhouse and 1 of them over here. The other thing with the elevated bed is, in front of the elevated bed, I could actually set buckets or grow bags, and that would kind of like double my space almost. So that's good. I'm thinking about that. I'm going to look into that over the winter. Well, gardening is all about planning ahead. And as far as planning ahead, I really need to start looking at some of the seed sites like burpee.com or parks.com, you know, all these different places, because I need to start planning what it is I'm going to plant next year. Seed starting, for me in my area, I start seeds inside in my sunroom around the middle of March. I don't start them in my greenhouse. Now, I will bring things out to the greenhouse to kind of harden them off before I put them in a grow bag or a bucket, or hopefully next year some elevated beds. But March is going to be here before you know it. So I would sit down and make up a little diagram, what I'm going to plant where, how much of something I want to plant. That's the real fun part of it. And then, you know, when March rolls around and I start putting seeds in the little seed starter squares, it's wonderful. I'm happy. I really am happy about that. So I'm just looking forward, always looking forward. Another thing, oh yes, and herbs. I want to have more herbs next year, and probably some more flowers than what I had this year. Don't want to forget to do that. I don't want to forget to order some herb seeds. I got a note to self. The other thing I want to touch on is, you may have noticed in some of my videos that my clothes are a little loose. I have been on a weight loss journey, and I don't want to dwell on that too much, but I have been on a weight loss journey, and I have lost weight. You can see it in my clothes. My work clothes are baggy. I actually need to make an effort to get the sewing machine out and alter my work clothes so that they're not so baggy. Sometimes it's not good to have clothing that loose when you're running a chainsaw or working with the tractor. So that's something else I have to do. And the thing I want to say about that is, after my husband died, well, my cooking changed. And with the change in the cooking for one, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go low carb, because I don't need to make mashed potatoes and gravy anymore, which was one of his favorite things. He'd eat mashed potatoes and gravy every day. I didn't have to do that anymore. So I thought, I think I'll try this low carb. That doesn't mean no carb. That means low carb. If I go out to dinner with my girlfriends and they want to go someplace where you have something like Olive Garden, I go and enjoy myself. But for the most part, I stick to no bread, no pasta, that sort of thing. And it is working. I hope to go a little bit farther than what I have. So we'll see where that goes. There again, that's planning into next year. So that's about it for today. Just sitting out here in the garden, looking around. Couple little things I need to do yet. I need to get my planter boxes off. I emptied them out so they could dry out, and I could unscrew them from the 2x4 and shake the dirt out of them and put them in the shed for the winter so they don't crack and break with in the ice and snow. And I'll have to get the blower out a few more times this year and blow the leaves off. I have a couple of peppers that are turning red that I'm going to use for seeds. But for all intents and purposes, the gardening is done. And while it wasn't the year I had hoped for, it was what it was. And we'll just go ahead and move forward. I enjoyed every bit of it. I had all these growing things around me. I watched other people's videos and I learned a lot. So maybe next year will be better. And I hope that you'll stay with the channel and stay with me and come along as we get through the winter. I might come out here in the winter to see just, what's going on, take you a couple walks around the property so you can see it in the different times during the winter. So that's about it. I do appreciate everybody who watches these videos. Like I say, sometime in my life, I'm probably going to be a really old woman sitting in the nursing home, and I'm going to show all the old codgers, oh yes, indeed, I did do that. Look here, I got a video to prove it. So there is that. So now I need to stop talking and get on with my day. There's a couple little chores I need to do. Probably take the planter boxes off today and get that done. So if you would, like and subscribe and help Holly Tree Manor grow. The YouTube algorithm is not kind to new channels unless they get subscribers, unless they get likes. So if you would, I would appreciate it. Help the channel grow. I don't expect to monetize and make a whole bunch of money off of it. That really isn't it. I want women in my age group to know you can make it on your own. Yes, sometimes you have to ask for help, but you can make it on your own. You can take wherever you live and make it a peaceful place that feeds your soul. All you need to do is look around and figure out how to do that, what works best. And I know you can do it. Don't sit and ponder and think, oh, I'm on my own, poor me, I'm so alone. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. So that's it. In closing, I will say, as always, stay safe and look for joy in everything you do. Thank you.